Greetings, grade 7 mathematics teachers. Welcome to term 2 mediation of functions and relationships for grade 7. My name is Lionel Mokwadi. This video is brought to you by Saibono Discovery Center in collaboration with Gauteng Department of Education. GDE vision and mission. The vision says that every learner feels valued and inspired in our innovative education system. Mission, we are committed to provide functional and modern schools that enable quality teaching and learning, to protect and promote the right of every learner to quality, equitable, and relevant education. This is the mandates that are given to us. Is the first mandate. It says 100% of learners must 100% of learners must pass a home language and life orientation. 85% overall pass rate, 55% subject average. Every year is the year of GET. As we are instructed by Circular S15 of 2024 that we should continue with 2023-2024 ATP. So if you can see from 2023-2024 ATP, functions and relationships, they are in week 8 and week 9. Hours per topic. For this topic, it's 9 hours, almost to 2 weeks. So the topics and skills that will be dealt with under functions, this is just a repetition of what learners have done from grade 6. They were doing patterns, and in grade 7, they will be doing inputs and output values. They determine input values, output values, and the rules for patterns and relationship using number 1, flow diagram, number 2, tables, number 3, the formulae. They also do the equivalent forms. They determine, interpret, and justify equivalence of different description of the same relationship or rule presented, like verbally, in flow diagram, in tables, by formula, by number sentences. The prerequisite for this topic, or the pre-knowledge, learners must come into grade 7 knowing the input and the output value with whole numbers, equivalent representation of different descriptions of the same relationship or rule presented verbally, in flow diagram, in a table, by a number sentence. So this is almost the same as what they were doing in grade 6. Rules for calculating the area of the square and the rectangles, rules for calculating the volume of the rectangular prism. Then in terms of progression, remember in a senior phase, our progression starts from grade 7, right? Our output will be grade 9. So like we're doing grade 7, you can see from this progression that they are almost the same. Flow diagram is the same in all these 3 grades. Tables is there, then formulae is there. So you can see that in grades 8 and 9, they'll be doing the new one, which is equations and formulae. But in grade 7, we emphasize more on flow diagrams, table, formulae. Then we also do the equivalent forms. They determine, interpret, justify equivalence of different description of the same relationship or rules verbally, in flow diagram, in tables, by the flow, by the formula, by the number sentences. So you can see how it progresses. In grade 8, they will be adding equation. In grade 9, they will now be doing graphs on a Cartesian plane. Then this is another innovative that we are trying to bring as Gauteng mathematics subject advisors, that we have a tracker. By tracker, you can see that tracker has dates. And you can see the lesson numbers, how many lessons that is expected for this topic. Then the third column is just applying to our CAPS documents, our ATP. You can see there, input and output determine the value, output values or the rule for patterns. This is in line with our ATP. So then you as the teacher, you can see that when you are starting with this topic, you'll be starting with it from the 19th until the 22nd for the first part, the 19th until the 22nd of May 2025. So you can also check how far in terms of curriculum coverage. Then these are the resources that you can refer to them. The workbook, which is our DBE workbook, and also the Sasol Inzalo. Then you can also put your textbook if you want. Then lastly will be in terms of progress. So you can see again that after you are done with this topic, I think it's taking us about 4 days from the 22nd until the 22nd, the 23rd, the 24th. Then on the 23rd, because it will be on Friday, learners will be writing the informal test. That will be the informal test under these functions and relationship. Then 26 until the 29 will be doing the equivalent forms. Then there are also 4 lessons again. Then we'll have a test. Remember, the tracker is trying to help us when we are planning so that we manage time effectively. So it will be for your own good cause that you refer to the tracker so that you plan effectively. So then this is an example of our lesson plan for MIP. Like you can see there, it says Gauteng province. So I took only lesson 1. So all in all, there are about 8 lessons for this topic. So it will be in term 2. Then you see there, we must indicate the topic. The topic is functions and relation. It will be your first lesson. Then you must put the date. Then how long is your lesson? Normally we are advising schools to take 1 hour period. The objectives: by the end of this lesson, learners should know and be able to determine the input or output value or the rule for patterns and relationship using flow diagram. Then bullet number 4 or item number 4 talks to the resources. Will be gladly if you plan using the DBE workbook. So you can have DBE workbook 1 and 2. You can also have the PowerPoints if you have. You can also have your own textbook. Then because this is our first lesson, bullet number 5, we're not going to address it because it's the first for this lesson. So we don't have a homework for this lesson. Then number 6, it talks to the pre-knowledge. Remember, this pre-knowledge are coming from the prerequisite from our 2023-2024 ATP. Input and output, they know them from grade 6. Equivalent representation of different description of the same relations or rule presented verbally, in a flow diagram, in a table, by a number sentence. They also know how to substitute. They know the rule for calculating the area of the square and rectangle. They know the rules for calculating the volume of rectangles. Then, as a strategy, colleagues, I think this is what we should do always. We have also included the mental maths for about 5 minutes. So learners must be given about 3 minutes to do the mental maths, then 2 minutes for feedback. Learners can do peer marking or they can exchange their activities. That is allowed, but we must give it about 5 minutes. Then because this is our first lesson, we also spend some time in terms of English across curriculum, the terminology. Learners need to understand when we talk of what is an input value, what is an output value, what is a rule, what is a variable, because these are the things or these are the terms that we'll be using most of the time. So you can see they are there. Another aspect that we feel is very critical is the assessment weights. learners need to know this, or the teacher must emphasize these assessment weights: determine, calculate, and substitute. It will be important that we emphasize these assessment weights, because when learners, they will be writing their informal or their formal tasks, they will be writing them using these examples of assessment weights. Then as your introduction, about 10 minutes, you can discuss the above terminology. That's what we are emphasizing. Show the learners visually where the input and the output values are. Make sure that the learners know the difference between difference and the rule. Bullet number 10, it talks to you when you are presenting your lesson. So about 15 minutes should be talking to your presentation. So if you can see, there are 2 columns. There is where you put your activities. Then you are far right. The column talks to your note structure. Here, it's where you are saying how learners should engage in this. So you can see here it says, learners work in pairs on the activity, share their solutions with the whole class. So you can see that activity number 1, it says consider the relationship output equals to 2 multiplied by the input, then divide by -1. So this is a rule. Then what do we do? Explain the relationship in words. Learners need to know how to explain the relationship in words. Then number 2, they should be able to, together with you, they should be able to complete the flow diagram below to find the output values for the following inputs. So here, learners are given the input values. They are also given the rule. Theirs is just to determine the output values. Then there is a note there. The flow diagram indicates the order in which calculations must be done. Emphasize that 2x refer to, it's 2 multiply there. It means you multiply 2 by your input value. Therefore, develop the skill of substitution and operation with integers. So you can give one activity on this, or you can also give another one. If you can see, we are still emphasizing on the output. Even activity number 2 is talking to the output. So once you have presented this with learners, then you can give learners a classwork. Then you can give them about 2 or 3 activities for 20 minutes. How do you budget 20 minutes? Then 10 minutes it will be for them when they are doing their writing. Then 10 minutes it will be for feedback, where you are doing with your learners. Then bullet number 12, it talks to the support that you think you'll be giving to learners. Then additional notes for teachers. Then your reflection on this lesson. So most of the lessons will be looking like this one. Remember, this is an hour lesson, so to budget time is very critical. Then we also provide learners with what we call a learner worksheet. So these learner worksheets, you can see it has mental maths, it has classwork, it also have homework. So from this one, you can see these mental maths activity, they are almost, in fact, they are the same like the one that are in the lesson plan. So here we try to save time for learners so that you don't do the writing on the board. So you just make copies of the learner worksheet. So learners will write on this learner worksheet. So there is a classwork there. There is a mental maths there. So, and also there's some of them have solutions. Then informal assessment. This will be your last task. Remember, we budgeted this topic for 9 hours. So you teach for 8 lessons. Then your 9 lesson will look like this. So that's where you give learners an informal test. So it can be, that's what we are encouraging, that your informal test should be a multiple choice. So here is an informal test that can be given to learners. Thank you very much, colleagues. I hope this will make a difference when you are planning for the topic functions and relationship for grade 7. Thank you.